Let's make RDR2 look like it just dropped this year with better graphics, upscaled textures, a full seasonal cycle, improved characters, map enhancements, and a whole lot more. First up is the Dominator's full game overhaul. It's an absolutely huge, over 52GB mod covering almost everything you can possibly see in a single frame. From individual grains of sand to insects, characters, NPCs, terrain, vegetation, interiors, exteriors, everything. Normally I'd say that's an overkill because you'd need a NASA PC to run that, but weirdly enough it runs better than vanilla game.
What?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that as well, but it turns out the author focused on heavily optimizing the mod, which is a rare thing to see these days. For me, the problem is that instead of focusing only on the world textures, Dominator also did a lot of changes to the weather and time system. He added new cloud formations that weren't available in the game before, adjusted temperatures with the help of a professional meteorologist, and changed the weather transition, adding 13 key interpolation points. That's all some advanced stuff we're talking about here, and it sounds nice in theory, but in reality, there's no wow effect. I might be an ignorant, but the moment I launched the game, I knew something looked off. The cloud formations look weird. The lighting and everything related to the weather look ugly. So I had to boost up the contrast throughout the entire footage. And while I appreciate the efforts, I think the author should have at least separate the texture and weather parts of the mod. Most of the textures actually look pretty nice. The terrain, pavements, rocks, all that stuff looks sharper, which is definitely a plus. But when it comes to characters and horses, it's definitely overdone. The clothes have become disgustingly pixelated. The facial textures noticeable age some characters, and I won't even mention the horses because they look worst of all of that. So let's keep the mod as a base and now get into fixing what it screwed up to make the game actually look beautiful. I had a hard time picking the graphics mod because the variety here is huge, and I didn't want to use Visual Redemption again. So, after checking out Flare, Chelonia, Natural Light Rework, Vestigia, and Vanderlinde's Vision, I decided to stay with the last one. Instead of keeping the look vanilla-friendly, this mod completely changes the visual style of the game to be more realistic and vibrant, and I'm not gonna lie, I really like that look. Direct sun and moonlight have been adjusted drastically to be more realistic. Sunlight has bright light and sharp shadows, while moonlight has dimmer, cooler light and softer shadows. Weather conditions also determine the intensity of direct light for both the sun and moon. Lighting has been adjusted for better and more natural ambient occlusion and contrast for exteriors and interiors. The author did a lot of research to get every weather to have accurate cloud appearances and characteristics. Each cloud type has different lighting and heights. Some cloud types thrive more depending on the time of day and the location of the clouds. Unlike vanilla, where many weathers never even occur in the game at all, with this mod, each weather has a different probability depending on the region, and every weather has been utilized for each different region. Weather transitions have been adjusted to be slower and weather durations to be more persistent. And for the other miscellaneous changes, there's realistic wind speeds for all weathers, improved temporal anti-aliasing, improved water reflections and puddles, vignette has been removed, and the list goes on and on. You know how it is with graphics mods. Everyone likes their game a bit differently. Some people prefer vanilla style, some extremely filtered, others more cinematic look. But from all the mods I've tried, I think this one deserves giving it a try. Vanderlinde's Vision already added a lot more variety to the weather system, but that's definitely not enough, so I went even further and added dynamic seasons. And since I've used the same mod in the previous video, I'm gonna extend it even more with Season Manager. Now it gets absolutely crazy because that mod features not 4 but 12 stage seasonal cycles, completely overhauling the weather and climate. It is a total manager that runs automatically. It reads the date from the Dynamic Seasons mod and swaps out game files so it will control your climate and temperatures without you ever having to touch a single file. But it doesn't stop there because it also automatically manages a long list of other seasonal mods for you. And that's pretty much the same thing PlayTracker does to your game library. I teamed up with them because let's be real, games are scattered everywhere, including these from Rockstar. Whether you're playing GTA or Red Dead, there are tons of different versions across different platforms, and it's hard to keep track of your progress. PlayTracker solves this by combining your entire game library, achievements, and playtime into one single profile. You connect your accounts, Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, whatever you use, and everything syncs automatically. And they just made a huge update adding Nintendo Switch, Epic, Retro achievements, and a bunch of others, so you can now even track achievements from ancient GTA games. You can also see what your friends are playing across platforms, compare achievements, and compete on leaderboards. There's quests, where unlocking achievements in any game counts toward challenges, and you can earn rewards just by playing normally, including a free game every season. And there's also the Insight section, and it shows game stats, trends, and active players, so you can compare compare titles or look at the hype around upcoming releases. And you can join my official Interguild on PlayTracker, where you earn points simply by playing GTA, Red Dead, and a few other games I picked. Top players unlock exclusive rewards, including custom profile covers I made using my modded RDR2 setup. So if you want all your progress in one place and rewards for playing games you already enjoy, check out PlayTracker. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. And getting back to Season Manager, let me show you what you can combine it with. First off, there's cherry blossoms in Saint Denis, and the name says it all. The city of Saint Denis now boasts beautiful cherry blossom-lined streets, which obviously will be there only during the spring season. Same thing with the reworked strawberry, which will also pop up during the spring season, and this one adds a lot of plants and fitting objects around the strawberry town. Then there's extreme grass, which drastically increases the density of grass and miscellaneous plants, and this one will be enabled from late spring through the end of summer. And the Big Valley Reforestation Project, which transforms the dead forest area in Big Valley into a much richer, denser forest. And that's the last mod that will be triggered during the spring and summer season. Next up is the autumn vegetation, and this one is essential to bring actual fall experience into the game. The vibrant green trees now get dead yellow leaves, so all the maps surrounding us look like a proper autumn. Snow, as you probably remember, has its own separate mod as well, adding leafless trees around the map, dried grass, custom winter props in Saint Denis, and a lot more. There's also ambient abandoned wagons, which also triggers only during winter, and it's brilliant because obviously snow season is more likely for accidents, so spotting abandoned wagons during that time is actually realistic. And the more you dive deep into this mod, the more it makes sense, like all the wagons comes with obtainable loot, but the ones found in wide open spaces contain only lower tier stuff, while those in more secluded spots offer higher tier stuff. Christmas and holidays got their own treatment as well, and for that I had to get 5 separate Christmas mods for Valentine, Beecher's Hope, Blackwater, Strawberry, and Rhodes. All of these adds Christmas decors throughout all the areas and interiors so we can spot Christmas trees, a lot of lights, candy canes, candles, and a whole lot more. And we're not stopping there because there are also 3 separate add-ons for Season Manager, and the first one is 12-stage seasonal visuals and environment. It's fully compatible with all the popular graphics mods, including the Vanderlyn's Vision we're using, and what it does is mind-blowing. The sun is no longer a static light source. It's at its weakest and lowest in the sky during the middle of winter, and at its most intense and blazing in the middle of summer. Day and night lengths are now dynamic. The sun rises earliest in summer around 6 a.m. and latest in winter around 7 a.m. All related lighting, including street lights, house lights, and vehicle lights, adjust to this new cycle automatically. Street lamps and train lights burn visibly brighter in the cold, clear winter air. Because there is less haze, these lights will appear as smaller, sharper points of light rather than the large, hazy blooms you see in summer. Shadows are no longer static. The high, direct sun of midsummer makes them look more crisp, dark, and defined, while the low-angled middle of winter sun makes them softer, longer, and more diffused. The world's drying speed is tied to temperature. Get wet in the middle of a summer heat wave, and you'll dry almost instantly. Get wet in the middle of winter, and you will stay damp for a very long time. Vehicle wheels will get caked in thick mud in the wet seasons, but will barely pick up any in the dry summer. And in winter, all mud logic is replaced by snow. You will no longer see Arthur sweating while galloping in a blizzard. In the middle of summer, peds and horses will start sweating at a realistic 20 degrees Celsius, but in the middle of winter, the sweat threshold is raised to an impossible 35 degrees, so it's basically disabled. Animals will grow visibly thicker, fuller, and more detailed fur coats to survive the cold, and their maximum fur layers are doubled in winter. The wind is no longer static. It is at its most active in the unpredictable spring and autumn seasons, causing grass to sway more intensely, while summer days are calmer. River and water foam are most intense during the spring melt and much calmer during the summer. And finally, water reflections are tied to the atmosphere. Reflections in the middle of winter are sharp and clear, while in the middle of summer, they are softer to blend with the hazy air. There's a lot more into this mod, and let me remind you, that's just one add-on. The next one focuses on the plant harvesting system, adding seasonal growth for over 40 of the game's plants. Herbs, flowers, and berries now have a full life cycle. They grow in the spring, peak in the summer, wane in the autumn, and go dormant for the winter. And the last add-on transforms the wildlife ecosystem. So for example, during summer, the animal populations are at their peak, with spawn rates more than doubled. But during winter, spawn rates drop to just 25% of normal levels. In the middle of winter, grazing time is cut in half, and the time animals spend looking for food is 15 times longer, and the time between drink attempts is drastically increased from 2 minutes to 20 minutes to simulate frozen water sources. And there's of course a lot more into this add-on, and I definitely recommend installing all three if you're using the base mod. It adds a lot more realism to the game, and to me it's just mind-blowing how much effort must have gone into stuff that gets overlooked most of the time. Next on my list is equine texture improvements. Since the vanilla horses have pretty low quality texture detail and Dominator's mod made it even worse, this mod is a perfect solution. All the horse textures are now completely redone from scratch with increased resolution and detailing, and I've used the optional file with reduced fur shine, which I think looks even more realistic. And since we have horses sorted out, the next mod is Character Textures Overhaul. It's probably the best mod in this category, improving faces and clothes for all main and side characters. Every single texture was handmade, so we're not talking about some random upscale right here, and that's definitely visible, especially during the cutscenes.
What about me? This ain't the time for tigers, my friend.
Then there's catalog improvements, and this one is huge. It brings tons of fixes and improvements to a lot of clothing items for the player by reducing clipping, makes clothes more reactive, and adds variety to the wardrobe, even bringing new items into the catalog for players to purchase. The Navy revolver can be now purchased from any gunsmith in the game, along with 2 additional medals that can be used to customize any of your weapons. We can now remove shirts, suspenders, and offhand holsters through the wardrobe, the latter now being able to dynamically push satchels away to avoid clipping. The cowboy, rancher, and winter cowboy outfits are now having opened vests while being compatible with every shirt. Certain cutscenes in Epilogue 1 are either fixed or overhauled in this mod, fixing the blurry scene at the end of Motherhood and giving John his actual weapons during Jim Milton rides again. Most of outfits from chapters 1 to 6 have been added to the wardrobe, as well as some unique outfits inspired by unused and beta content, like the Casual Gunslinger, the Autumn Gunslinger, the Hayseed, the Summer Outlaw, the Elegant Suit, the Scout, and so on. There's also some new hats added, plus previously static hats are now properly animated, and the list of changes just goes on and on. It's definitely a mod worth checking out if you want to fix what Rockstar overlooked and add even more when it comes to character customizability. And if that's not enough, that mod, which improves a lot of stuff, got its own improvement add-on called Gunslinger Improvements, and this one focuses on the quality and consistency. First off, the body textures got improved by restoring beta details on his face like missing stubble strands and moles, adding ambient occlusion detail to his chin scar, highly improving the quality of his PBR materials and the resolution of his eye textures, and many other small improvements. Then there are improvements to Arthur's length 1 buzzed hair, so the sides and back of it are much fuller, and the mustache misplaced hairs got fixed along with the decal texture it uses underneath. The Beta French dress shirt got restored so it's slightly darker, and the bandage from the sleeve got removed. And then it goes so deep that 99% of players wouldn't even notice it, like his neckerchief got different fabric based on the game's official guidebook, and same thing with his shirt fabric. Additionally, his gambler hat got improved to be more consistent, and duster coat got a better quality texture, along with gunslinger jacket and open winter shotgun coat. The Legend of the East outfit was completely redesigned so it looks much more aesthetically pleasing and more rewarding to unlock. And I could just keep listing all that stuff, but as you're probably guessing, there's tons of such changes and improvements, so overall, if you're planning to use catalog improvements, this one is a must-have. Now getting back to map improvements, there's cleaned up streets in Strawberry. Strawberry is one of the most beautiful towns in Red Dead, but it's completely ruined by horse manure and debris, and this mod simply cleans up all that stuff so the town's streets can finally look the best they can be. Next up is the Annesburg Rainforest, and while it doesn't actually add anything new, it replaces the old trees in Annesburg area to those straight out of rainforest, and I think it looks pretty cool and makes this area look fresh again. And now to add something instead of just replacing, there's dense forests of New Austin. The previously empty area across Gaptooth Ridge, stretching all the way from Tumbleweed to the Sea of Coronado, now has got a new dense forests. These consist of dense ponderosa pines and completely change the feel of the valley, and it's actually inspired by regions of Arizona and New Mexico. It's yet another of the mods that once I've tried them, I don't want to play without them anymore. Then there's Project New Austin 1907, and this one changes a lot, starting with Prosperous Armadillo. That town got fully cleaned up, rid of cholera and sick NPCs, filled with a whole new set of townsfolk going through their daily routine. There's also a fully remastered Morningstar Ferry with a whole new interior built from scratch, featuring a fully functional saloon, gambling minigames, and a whole lot of smaller details to find along the way. And the Wreck of Serendipity, remastered and enhanced with different levels of decay throughout the ship, now taken over by the newly formed Treasure Hunter gang. McFarland's Ranch also got redone and enhanced, with an all-new barn, foreman's office, general store, working train station, and much more to discover all over around that place. And the Plainview got remade from the ground up with an actual oil refinery, and just like in other places, it's filled with a lot of NPCs doing their day-to-day routines. And to improve the map even more, there's Blackwater Capital Overhaul, a more civilized Blackwater, which is pretty much an add-on to the previous mod. It restores and reintroduces buildings such as the City Hall, the main plaza with its central kiosk, the train station, police station, and the list just goes on and on. The factories that didn't make it to final RDR1 were recreated and placed in their corresponding locations, and they fit the world perfectly. Same with the Silent Star, a cut ferry that was originally intended to appear alongside the Morning Star, but removed in the final game too. Just like previously, there's much more into this mod, like the restored gunsmith or boat rentals, so it's definitely a mod worth checking out if you want to improve the game's world. Now switching to more gameplay-related mods, I've got Vaxis Longer Kill Cam. The vanilla kill cams are alright, but sometimes they feel too short, and with this mod we can enjoy our carnage in longer, slow, cinematic moments. It's of course all a matter of taste, just like the no kill cam filter I merged it with, but kill cam itself feels much more satisfying with it. And you know what else feels much more satisfying? Melee combat with enhanced brawling mod. It does literally everything possible to improve the melee combat by adding 8 switchable brawling styles, all of them with their unique grapple and melee animations. And of course, that's not all, and the list of changes is insanely long, but in short, it adds tons of new mechanics and animations. Many of them are restored leftovers or even ports from GTA, and they simply make brawling much more fun and complex. NPCs can do much more actions to us, and so do we, so every fight will play differently now. But switching to more peaceful stuff, there's immersive scenarios. It lets you do tons of scenarios that can only be used by NPCs. Stuff like playing a piano, picking up work objects like brooms and actually using them, chilling in a cool pose that can't be done naturally by the player, inspecting stuff around the map, sitting on a chair, pulling a cigarette, rolling it, and start smoking, and much more. It seems to be fully compatible with the previous mods, so it's another must-have if you want to make the gameplay more realistic and immersive. And to make the smoking more realistic as well, there's Smoking Complete. It truly revamps the smoking mechanics, because you can now smoke while walking around and interacting with NPCs, riding horse, playing poker, sitting by the fire, and much more. The default key for smoking cigarette is N, and for cigar it's comma. For a quick smoke you gotta tap the key, and you can hold it for a longer smoke. And using the same key you can control the movement of the cigarette to mouth or hands, or throw it away. Additionally, there's a menu on K button where you can use custom scenarios like sitting on the ground or leaning on things. Next on my list is Super Ultimate Horse mod, and it does absolutely everything possible to improve the horse spawning system in the game. Every single horse can be found or stolen, tamed and bonded with in natural manners without having to wait for the next mission or chapter. Horse spawns are also 100% consistent now. In vanilla, the game would rarely mix and match some breeds, and if certain conditions are met, spawn them in the wild. This was incredibly inconsistent, making us look for ages for a specific horse, but that's no longer an issue. Every stable horse is available to purchase from the start, so no no more waiting until Chapter 4, no more missable horses or epilogue exclusives. We can find every of these horses at any moment now, though of course only in specific locations, but the author provided a chart with all breeds and their locations. NPCs can be seen riding a wider variety of horses now, but in a realistic way. It's not like everyone will ride a super expensive horse, but it makes sense that some NPCs are doing better than another and can afford better horse, and that's exactly what's happening with this mod. Unique vanilla horses seem to have a bit of an inconsistent spawn, but now they always spawn, and they do so in groups, giving us a chance to obtain one. Plus, there's no more fixed genders, so the white Arabian isn't female only anymore. Lawmen got changes as well. For example, the higher your wanted level, the better horses they will ride, but there's much more into this. Every single hitching post in towns is now free to use for everyone and anyone, so towns will be a bit more active with more people leaving their horses parked. To make better use of dynamic temperatures added by Season Manager, I've got the humidity and temperature overhaul final cut. In the vanilla game, rain or temperature in general don't have a big impact on Arthur, but now with this mod, everything will change. It adds a new core that represents your weather resistance so that rain, snow, water, or cold are now an actual threat. The outline represents how much protection against wetness and harsh temperatures you have. The more clothes, the longer the outline bar is, but it's reversed while in a hot place where obviously less clothes is better. The sign in the middle represents the current temperature conditions around you while taking your clothing into account. A white sun is the base, you're dressed optimally for the current weather value. A snowflake represents that you're cold and should get dressed in better clothing or seek shelter. If it's too hot or too cold, the icon will change to a different color to represent how severe the temperature is. In the case of any kind of downfall like rain or snow, no matter how well dressed you are, the core will drain, but proper clothing will drastically decrease the drain rate. To regain the outline, you can go inside or generally seek a place to warm yourself. Anything like fire, stove, campfires will fill the outline, and resting by a campfire or sitting in the tent will fortify the core, locking it at 100% for an extended time. If the core drops to 0, all the other cores will start to drain, and optionally you can even enable taking damage in that situation. Now to make the game world a little bit more alive, there's Reedy Drunk's Ambient World, and I truly wish I came across it sooner. It enhances the ambiance by adding a variety of NPCs, props, and vehicles to the world. There are over 200 ambient pedestrians added, all completely random and scattered across various locations. Some of them will finally enter shops and other locations, so interiors won't feel so empty anymore. The variety of both NPCs and vehicles is boosted up as well, so there's a much lower chance to spot the same NPC even with the increased population. And additionally, there's a dynamic world that enables some unused or mission-specific setups around the map that should have been included in free roam. Now, the Grand Corrigan can be regularly found docked or floating throughout the week. The Saint Denis Mayor throws his parties most Saturday nights and on random occasions the rest of the week. Valentine now flexes its banners every weekend. Van Horn now shows some slight growth over the years, opening its rickety rope bridge in 1907. Blackwater has an active port, receiving horses and cargo throughout the week and some traveling tourists on the weekend. The St. Denis Art Gallery has opened its doors to the public. The Van Horn Lighthouse is now shining its light every night except Sundays, and there's some extra open interiors like the Angelo Bronte's mansion. And just like that, we've improved RDR2 to make it much closer to today's standards, with enhanced graphics, improved textures, a seasonal cycle, and so much more. After playing around for a few hours with this mod combination, I decided to get rid of Project New Austin and the Blackwater overhaul because it just felt like too much for the game engine. With the rest of the mods installed, the game is fully stable, and it doesn't seem to have the spawning issue anymore, but that would require even more testing. I also tried not to repeat too many mods from the previous video, so if you want to see even more awesome ones, definitely check that out. And of course, check out PlayTracker if you want to connect all your games, achievements, and stats in one place. The link is in the description and the pinned comment.